Hello, it's very good to have you with us at this hour. I'm Daniel Che here to provide you with the latest. More than 3 million Brits are calling for a second EU referendum after the vote to leave. The petition created back in May by student activist William Oliver Healy calls for another referendum if the remain or leave vote is less than 60%, based on a turnout of less than 75%. On Thursday, it was 72% showing up. The number of signatures so far is well over the 100,000 threshold needed to force a debate on the issue by Parliament members. But British commentators say another in or out vote is highly unlikely. Since the Brexit decision, politicians in France, the Netherlands, Italy and Slovakia have called for their own countries to hold referendums. Brexit, of course, sent shockwaves through global financial markets on Friday, and Korea was no exception. The Korean government held emergency meetings on the issue on Sunday to help minimize the negative impact here. Kim Hye-sung shares with us what was discussed.
Ahead of markets opening on Monday, Financial Services Commission Chairman Im Jong-yong convened an emergency meeting of Korea's financial authorities. In the meeting, Chairman Im emphasized that Korea has enough resilience to withstand the Brexit bump.
Korea ranks 7th in the world in terms of foreign currency reserves, and its short-term debt has also dropped to half the level from 2008.
He added that the real economy won't be affected right away, as the process of the UK leaving the EU will take at least 2 years. But Chairman Im said Brexit could raise questions about the current global economic financial order, which has long emphasized integration and openness. Already, politicians in several other European countries have called for their own referendums. Such moves trigger global uncertainty, causing capital to move from equities into the dollar or other safe assets like gold, resulting in a capital outflow from Korea. To help stabilize markets, Korean financial authorities said the measures on the table include the easing of stock buyback limits and the creation of a stock market stabilization fund. Later in the day, Korea's Deputy Prime Minister Yoo Il-ho also met with economic experts to discuss policy measures.
We will monitor the domestic and global markets around the clock and put together a task force team.
The Deputy Prime Minister said the government will help remove unnecessary market uncertainties by securing liquidity and strengthening communication with foreign investors and credit rating agencies. It also plans to work with other international organizations and G20 member countries to strengthen the global financial safety net. Kim Hye-sung, Arirang News.
South Korea will hold another round of trilateral talks with China and Japan to work out details on the planned free trade agreement. According to the nation's trade ministry, the two-day working-level negotiations begins in Seoul on Monday. The 10th round of such meetings will bring together Korea's Deputy Trade Minister Kim Ak-do, China's Vice Commerce Minister Wang Shou-wen, and Keiichi Katakami, Japan's Deputy Foreign Minister for Economic Affairs. The leading Northeast Asian economies launched the talks in 2012 to forge a comprehensive and mutually beneficial agreement. The discussions are expected to go beyond flow of goods, services, and investment to include country of origin rules, customs, sanitary inspections, e-commerce, intellectual property rights, the environment, and technology barriers. Turning our focus to China now, where the World Economic Forum is holding its annual Science and Technology Conference. The movers and shakers of the field are in Tianjin to discuss, among other things, the changing world under the so-called Fourth Industrial Revolution. Kwon Jang-ho fills us in on the meeting of the new champions, also known as the Summer Davos.
The city of Tianjin is once more hosting the World Economic Forum's annual meeting of new champions. Now in its 10th year, the event's size and significance has grown alongside China's presence in the global economy and politics. This year, they're expecting over 1,700 participants from 90 countries, bringing together the world's leading figures from government and business in the spirit of collaboration.
And for us, that means it's an opportunity to talk to other Chinese business leaders and to tell our story to government leaders. And that's hugely important, especially given how on the ground we are.
Over 2.5 days, the organizers have planned 200 sessions on a wide variety of subjects, but many of them are behind closed doors. Behind me down there is an area called the Village. It's where the participants can meet up and share their ideas. And the reason why I'm up here is because it's closed off to the press and media so that they can focus and do that without being disturbed. Not only is it a chance for networking, there are also exclusive participants-only sessions and demonstrations to fuel ideas.
This is the 5th World Economic Forum in China that I've attended, and this meeting has taken on an identity all of its own. So this meeting has become a place where we can ourselves experiment with the future and then come together to talk about the implications.
The World Economic Forum's central theme this year is the 4th Industrial Revolution, and one of its key stories recently has been the groundbreaking milestone of machine beating man in the game of Baduk, also known as Go. Baduk Grandmaster Lee Se-rol was invited to talk about the significance of that moment.
AlphaGo, on a number of occasions, played in a surprising way. It played some very creative moves, and therefore it's important for us to consider what creation really is and what being creative really means.
It's not always easy to measure the outcomes of these exchanges, but the forum and many of the participants say that sharing and collaborating can produce a synergy effect of new ideas and solutions to the issues affecting the world. Kwon Jang-ho, Arirang News.
Also, Korean Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-ahn arrived in China for a 5-day visit. First up is, of course, Tianjin for the 2016 Summer Davos Forum. At a special session on Monday, Hwang will introduce Korea's flagship creative economy policy, which aims for the convergence of science, technology, and culture. Moving to Beijing, he is scheduled to meet with President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Keqiang to discuss North Korea's missile launches and their impact on peace and stability. Beijing has urged restraint on all sides. Hwang is also expected to bring up illegal fishing by Chinese boats in South Korean waters. His visit also includes a trip to Liaoning province, which borders North Korea, a first for a sitting South Korean PM. There he'll meet with Chinese leaders and businessmen to expand bilateral cooperation and exchanges. Following North Korea's partially successful missile launches, concerns are growing about Pyongyang's missile re-entry capabilities. Many expect Seoul and Washington to fast-track talks on deploying a hotly debated American missile defense system to South Korea. Oh Se-young has the latest on THAAD discussions.
North Korea's Musudan missile launches last Wednesday have heightened concerns around the world over Pyongyang's nuclear capabilities. While the first launch attempt ended in failure, the second missile flew at a height of 1,400 kilometers and traveled 400 kilometers before it crashed into the East Sea.
We are happy, as our nuclear carrier method was clearly successful, and we can now stand confidently in the face of any nuclear war threats from America.
The second missile launch was deemed a partial success by Pyongyang and many international observers alike, seen as a progressive step in bolstering its rocket re-entry technology for an intercontinental ballistic missile.
The technological characteristics of our missile power system have been confirmed, and the heat endurance and flight stability of the warheads were verified in the re-entry area.
Speculation is rising that these developments could accelerate talks between Seoul and Washington on deploying the United States Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System to South Korea.
We've said time and time again that THAAD is a system that intercepts short-range, mid-range, and ballistic missiles. So based on that, I think we can determine whether the system can intercept Musudan missiles or not.
Official talks on THAAD deployment began after North Korea's long-range missile test in February. Oh Se-young, Arirang News.
The U.S. Special Envoy for North Korean human rights issues, Robert King, visits Seoul on Monday. According to the U.S. State Department, he is set to take part in a symposium on Pyongyang's human rights issues and hold one-on-one talks with top South Korean officials during his 4-day trip. Ambassador King last visited South Korea in April, where he sat down with senior officials to discuss ways to closely coordinate on human rights issues north of the border. In mid-June, he was in Britain and Belgium to meet with officials of the European Union. The EU has long been an active player in international efforts to improve the human rights situation in the reclusive regime. At least 2 in every 1,000 babies in Korea are born with hearing disorders. Researchers here have discovered a substance that could help reverse deafness from birth. Kim Mo-kyun shows us how the team is laying out the groundwork for treating the condition.
Congenital deafness or inborn hearing disorders are mostly caused by mutations in a protein located near the inner ear called pendrin. The mutated pendrin loses its function of forming proteins and leads to genetic disorders, including congenital bilateral hearing loss. But a research team from the College of Medicine at Yonsei University found a substance that could help the mutated pendrin regain its function. Their findings state that a protein called chaperone can activate and strengthen the function of pendrin, making it possible to secrete protein again in an unconventional way. This has drawn attention among researchers as it could be a stepping stone to developing an effective treatment for congenital deafness.
We are currently researching on developing medicines that can activate and increase the prevalence of chaperone.
The latest findings have been published by the international science magazine Nature Communications. Kim Mo-kyun, Arirang News.
And now a quick look at the weather before we go. Cold showers and full throttle air conditioning will be missed once you step outdoors, as most parts of Korea will feel the full wrath of summer heat. However, cloudy conditions and rain can be expected in the southernmost regions on Monday. Seoul starts at 20 degrees Celsius, Daejeon and Jeonju at 18. The mercury will then shoot up all the way to 30 in the capital, 30 in Daejeon as well, and 29 in Jeonju. And now let's check out the weather conditions in your neck of the woods and around the world. That's all from us. Here's wishing you a smooth transition to a new work week. Thanks for watching.